sounds like a horse. Hey, everybody, it's Harris
Take
Fellman.
two.
Welcome to episode 710. No, episode 71 of the Tellman and Fellman Show. My name's Harris Fellman, and my partner in crime is here.
I'm Tellman Knudsen.
Okay.
True.
Yes. So today we were thinking about talking about hypnosis. Are we really recording now?
We're really live now.
Marketing and magic. That's what it says. Like it's kind of in the vein, but we're probably going to go in a different direction, to be honest with you. But it's in the vein of like Tellman had this. We were talking yesterday and had this idea that it might be cool one day for us to do a seminar, a marketing seminar. But he does hypnosis. I do magic, and we teach about marketing, and maybe it's about. I mean, for sure, there's hypnosis in sales copy, right? Not hypnosis, but there's NLP in both, I suppose. And there's marketing. There's I guess concepts of magic in marketing to some degree as well, which I'm not even sure what they are, which is why I don't know how much of that I want to talk about. But there are. Deception, most importantly, covering that, but no, hopefully not. So anyway, but what we ended up talking a little bit about before the show was this overcoming fears. Like I'd like to overcome my fear of living a creative life, and because I'm going through this book, The Artist Way, which is right there. You're supposed to go, oh, they have a new cover because
right, they have a new cover. Look at that.
They also sell the old one with the old cover as well, but it's probably twice as much. So I don't know how this has happened, but the preface is different. I don't know if there's anything else that's different in it.
Well, so Harris, like when we talk about magic, the two most obvious things that pop up for me as far as overlap with marketing, number one is our pattern interrupts. And I guess for me, I've created hundreds and hundreds of sales videos or VSLs. And especially, I don't know, the first couple hundred, I very much followed John Benson's formula, right? And many, if not all, of Benson's VSLs start with an unusual pattern interrupt. And I think magic is a great.
Magic itself can't be the pattern interrupt on a sales video. Is that what you mean?
Well, it is a great pattern interrupt, period. Like opening a VSL with a magic trick, for example, right, is a wonderful pattern interrupt because it doesn't seem like it's any.
Sure, yeah, that would be a great beginning to a marketing video. So is my Sal the Site Stealer, right?
And then like that is also true of any webinars, and it's also true of speaking from stage, right? Like when you are up on stage performing as a magician, I mean, you have the audience, hopefully you have the audience's attention and right. And so magic is a incredibly curious and interesting way of ultimately captivating attention, which we want throughout any sales presentation, whatever way that is there.
I think you have to be careful with it, actually, because magic can create I see it in people's eyes sometimes where they're just like, like a sense of wonder, which is like one of the main goals. And then I think that you might have to be careful because now their brain is kind of processing that, and the next thing you talk like, and also how we always say, oh, sex sells. You've always heard that, but truthfully, it can detract as well.
Oh, it totally can if it's not properly placed, right? And if people are just focused on the sexy woman and they're not focused on the sales pitch, good luck, right? But I do think that magic, and I'll just say magic tricks, just to simplify, are an incredible way of captivating attention, creating wonder, drawing people into the conversation and whatever it is that you're actually talking about.
That's interesting too. Like I kind of know the structure of some magic tricks, right? And as you're saying that, I'm like, oh, you really do pull people in. They want to see what's going on. And then I'm like, oh, wow. So how can we apply that? Forget it being magic, but like, how can that's kind of where I was going with it, is like, so it's, you know, there's some things that work with comedy, magic, and sales, which is like the rule of three, where you say, you know, you do three things in a row. The third one is maybe a little bit of a surprise from the first two, and that's what in sales, that's the thing you want them to, you know, most learn, take away from. Whereas in comedy, that's the joke. In magic, could be the trick.
Yeah, I'm imagining like a magic trick where you double your money, where you triple your money, right? Or you 10x your money, and then like ultimately you're selling a course, a training program, a system to help people double their money. And you could do 3 different magic tricks over the course of a 90-minute presentation, you know, that all illustrate that, you know, bring back the, okay, well, double your income. It's as easy as magic, you know.
Yeah, and what's great about that is you tell people that, you know, hey, in another 30 minutes, we'll do another trick where I, you know, because that'll keep people interested longer too.
If you can captivate people with it, then you can also use the trick itself as a metaphor, right? And part of the story that you're telling, you know, and weave it all together. But interestingly, hypnosis has some similar aspects to it, right? Hypnosis is also an unusual trick in many ways, especially from stage, right? Considered a trick. Most people don't believe it's real unless they've experienced hypnosis personally for some sort of change in their life. Most people's experience of hypnosis is comedy, stage hypnosis, right? The vast majority of people, their only exposure is either in person or on TV to stage comedy hypnosis. And so that's like stage comedy hypnosis.
And for sure, it's at least at the bare minimum, that's the I want to say meme, but that's not the right word anymore. But that's the thought, like people, like the stereotype. The stereotype of hypnosis is, oh, you're going to make me cluck like a chicken.
Dude, to this day, when people meet me and they hear that I'm a hypnotist, like, or if I tell them I'm a hypnotist, most people will do this for a moment, you know, like block their eyes, you know, just because of the cultural stereotype, you know, that people really do think that hypnotists and somehow magically take control of your mind and control you, right? Like, because of that illustration from
can't they?
They can't. No. The very common misconception about hypnosis is that hypnotists somehow control your mind. The reality is that the reason people feel that way is because they see people in a stage hypnosis situation going up on stage, singing like Elvis, clucking like a chicken. Like, I once gave birth to an alien baby on stage at a hypnosis conference. And why is the comedy part of it? To keep an audience's attention for an hour. That's why. And
like a hypnosis demonstration of, I don't feel like smoking anymore. Okay,
yeah, well,
let's watch this person not smoke.
Right, but if you have somebody who's like suddenly you know, laying in the lap of somebody that they don't know, you know, like, it's a very interesting thing. And so here's why
I saw one where the girl, there was like, you know, a bunch of people on stage, and I guess he had one of them singing like Adele, and she was so into it, she didn't realize that her boob literally came out of her shirt, and like the hypnotist had to come up and, like, you know, say, hey, fix that, you know.
Well,
but the audience was like,
well, but that in and of itself is just that happens to performers because they're so focused on the performance that they're not paying attention to themselves. Like,
right, and somebody that's a professional performer, they have the right clothing on. That's not going to happen. They wouldn't be braless.
But it happens to pros. It happens to professional performers on a regular basis, right? Sure. Like people have slip, you know, like wardrobe slip ups all the time.
So
you know?
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, I've talked to some stage hypnotists before, and it's a lot about who you're selecting as an audience. It's a bit of a number, like you're like, okay, it's pretty much like, I don't know. I was in a show recently a year ago in Edinburgh, and it was like, there's, I don't know, 200 people in the audience. It's like, anybody that wants to come on stage, come up on stage. So right there, that's self-selection. Like,
okay, but it starts well before then. Okay, Harris. So usually it's a comedy show. Sometimes it's an X-rated comedy show. Like, there are definitely X-rated hypnotists, especially in Vegas. And what happens is, first of all, you decide that you're going to go to the show.
Right.
When you decide that you're going to go to a hypnosis show, one of two things is going on. Either you have a desire to be hypnotized and go up on stage. You think it could be you're curious if it's real or not, and you're going to observe, but you're definitely not going to go up on stage. Or you're being dragged along by a friend or a spouse or a partner or something like this who wants some company, and you're kind of neutral, right? And so when you're thinking about going to the performance in the first place, before people even show up, they've already decided whether or not they're going to raise their hand to volunteer to go up on stage. Okay? Because everybody knows the hypnotist is going to have people up on stage. And everybody also knows that they're going to look like a complete idiot when they go up on stage and do silly. They're at a comedy show, and they know that they are going to be the center of the joke. Okay? So, like, anyone who's seen a hypnosis stage performance on TV or in person, or has talked to anyone who's been to one, like, already knows what's going on. Yeah. So then they've already thought about it. They've been talking about whether or not they're going to volunteer to go up on stage on the ride over to the show. And finally they're there. Their heart's racing a little bit. They're thinking about volunteering. And then sure enough, the hypnotist is like, hey, who wants to come up on stage? I got 20 chairs. And so it is self-selection, but it's also self-selection of the 20 most active, involved people who raise their hand first and have the most enthusiasm for going up on stage, and look like they're going to be cool to deal with, and whatever. And so what ends up happening is, with a hypnosis stage performance, inevitably 10 to 20% of the people that do volunteer to go up on stage are quietly and subtly asked to go sit back down during the performance when they don't do what the hypnotist says. And so they're choosing not to follow the hypnotist's instructions. All right. So when the hypnotist is like, okay, go ahead and take a slow, deep breath in and close your eyes, and two of the people don't close their eyes, they go sit back down. Okay. And so it is if you want to be on stage and you want to play, you have to go along with the instructions, or it's not going to be cool for anybody. Right. It's going to be lame. So the hypnotist or the hypnotist assistant always has anyone who is either unwilling to follow the hypnotist directions or unable. And when I say unable, I mean, sometimes you have people who are drunk. Sometimes you have people who are super high. Sometimes you have people who are super anxious, right? Or nervous. And if you're drunk, high, or super anxious and nervous and unable to relax at all, you're not in a space where hypnosis is going to be a good solution for you for anything, even if it's just comedy, right? So,
sorry, we kind of got down this track. Do you think this can this relate to marketing at all?
Well, yes. I mean, at the end of the day, the principle at play with stage hypnosis is the same as the principle at play with hypnotherapy or working with individual clients, which is, you can't hypnotize someone to do something that's against their will. You can't hypnotize people to do something that goes against their core moral or ethical beliefs. That's not how it works. Like, if a hypnotist tells you to do something that you aren't going to do, that you're not willing to do, that you don't believe in, you either tune it out, or it shakes you out of the relaxed state that you're in, because you're being told something that doesn't jive. It's not cool. So there's no difference between you not being willing to do something because a hypnotist tells you and some random person on the street telling you to do something.
If a hypnotist gets a married man to kiss another woman on stage, his wife should be upset. He was willing.
Yes, he was willing.
It wasn't so core to, well, he wasn't just willing. Perhaps he also felt like his wife would be okay with it. You know, like
maybe he wasn't thinking about his wife. You know, there are lots of factors, but like, hypnotists can't control you, but they can help you drop your anxiety and fears so that you can do the things that you want to do, but you're holding yourself back from.
Well, I have that with,
you know, when someone wants to quit smoking, everybody's capable of quitting smoking, but they consistently make a bunch of bad choices because of the very not only the fear, but the addiction and the fear of not having the chemical in the body. Like that's also a real thing.
Well, two things come up for me personally
Yeah.
with that. One is mentioned, I showed you the book that, me living more creatively, which is
Right.
funny. I beat myself up about it, but like I've done a shitload in the last 5 years for performing arts. Like,
I mean, in the greater scheme of things, since I've known you, you've been one of the more creative marketers that I know. I mean, just because with all your characters and things, I know you didn't do that heavily. You weren't playing in the creative zone heavily while you were really focused on building and growing traffic for me.
right.
But
Well, so that's interesting. I think I might have journaled about this yesterday, but when I first created, using the word created, traffic for me,
yeah,
there was creation, and
totally.
and there was a creative outlet happening and making of websites and whatever. And eventually I succeeded, and it lasted for a long time. And after a year or two of having my eyes or fingers off of the creative bubble button, I all of a sudden fell like magic got back into me. Like, hey, you like this, remember? And you like comedy. Why don't you do this? And I started doing that like 5 or 6 years ago. And so it's so I'm saying that having a business is also a creative venture, I guess, is all I was kind of pointing out there. But two things come up for me. One, I've mentioned the living a creative life. And two, if I'm honest, we're doing 75 hard together, and I'm not doing it as hard as I could be. I've not bought into the 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 do everything hard on purpose aspect of it. And I'm sticking to the original diet, and actually I've doubled down a little bit by going vegetarian instead of just whatever. But that was, the goal is now just to get through 75 hard and keep the amount of calories that I'm eating. And I'm not really losing weight. And I mostly walk. I go on my outdoor walk. You know what? Sorry, but if it was indoor, I would be sweating. But it's outdoor, and the pavement really fucks with my knees and blah blah blah. So I'm like, I'm going to go on an hour long walk instead of a 45-minute run, and I know that that's not as hard as if I was going on a 45-minute run. And I'm just, you're my 75 hard accountability, one of my 75 hard accountability partners. So,
Well,
I'm
dude,
being
I mean,
honest. Like,
truth
that's
be
why I'm
told,
not
like,
getting that. I'm getting other results from it, but I'm not
yeah,
getting I'm not getting a big weight loss result.
yeah, I mean, my two exercises that I've slipped into my default, right, is running in the morning, usually before the sun rises, and then yoga late in the afternoon, because my lower back, my hips, my hamstrings have always been tight as the ever living bejesus, like
Yeah.
painfully tight. I have huge nerve. For over a decade, I've had extreme sciatic, nerve pain in my left leg, like all the time.
I
But
would argue
running,
that I get that the exercise itself, but you're not doing 75 hard to lose weight.
no, but here's my point though. Like, running is hard, but in comparison to most forms of exercise, it's easy for me because I've been doing it since I'm 13, 14, like over 30 years, right? And so doing like vigorously exercising twice a day for 45 minutes, if you're not used to doing that, is freaking awesome. And you can always make it harder. You can always get in better shape. You can always step it up. I was going to the gym with my buddy Justin in my men's group. He's like 28, 29 years old. And in much like he's not like a tall, skinny runner, but like he's pretty jacked. He works with his hands all day, and he's a builder, and he builds stuff and whatever. And so I was going to the gym, but then my kid's schedule changed and blah, blah, blah. Going to the gym and lifting weights for me was much more difficult and uncomfortable than running, right? And there are way harder things that I could be doing than yoga, but I find that my body desperately needs the yoga because of all the running that I'm doing.
I was going to say too that yoga is a tough practice to start as well. Like, it is, like, not so much the doing of it. I mean, and it is, but just like, especially like, it's just yoga, and but it's super. I think it's super important. It's something that my mind is constantly telling me to do, and I haven't even done it during during this run, which is fine. But by the way, did you know that if you mouse over the little eyeball on the number of people watching, we can see that where they're from?
I do know that.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. We can see some are at my Facebook and some are on your YouTube, and then one came from your Facebook and left. But
alas,
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So
who's it? Who is it? Who's on my Facebook watching? Hey,
that's right.
Say something.
So, Harris, when you say that you want to live a more creative life, but you're afraid to, practically speaking, like tangibly, physically, in the physical world, what does it mean to you to live a more creative life? What are the specific things that you fear is holding you back from doing? Like, what would it look like if you were living a more creative life?
I
like
would
for me, or for someone viewing you from the outside, how would they know? Something that's like measurable and observable versus just how you happen to feel.
It's funny because as I say it, you're going to say, "Oh, but you are doing that." But like, I would be the time. I'd be taking the time to work on creating a show. I've done 2-hour-long shows, but they were just thrown together, honestly, you know. And I would like to become kind of a world-class performer, meaning, you know, that like I said, like I started to go on Britain's Got Talent and I wasn't able to. I believe that's because I'm too amateur, and which is okay. It's a reality.
Well, hold on. In order for you to be living a more creative life, do you have to
be on
successfully be on Britain's Got Talent? Is that true? No. Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. That's it. I'm giving you an example of the juxtaposition.
Right. I mean, that would be a win. Right. That would be an accomplishment. But is it required for you to be living a more creative life? I think that's maybe an outcome of you living a potential outcome of you living a more creative life.
Right. So I would. There's things in my control, more in my control. I would create a show. I would put a show up. I would do a show. And I mean, ultimately, at some point, get paid enough to live on doing shows. And
well, hold on though. Does it take you to be getting paid anything for you to actually live a more creative life, even if you never got paid a dime for your creative pursuits?
Yeah.
Or a dime more, right?
Yeah.
Does that actually prevent you from living a more creative life?
No, I mean, but I live in a world that requires money, and for sure, look, I mean, like, that's one of the things, like in the book, that, you know, is my I have an either or belief, that which is I either make money or I do my creative stuff. So my solution to that would be that my creative stuff pays me enough to live on.
Right.
You know.
Well, which would be great, right? Like, that's awesome. Lots of, I mean, most of my friends are artists, and like most of my personal friends are artists and creatives. And even in the marketing world, I tend to hang out with the more creative folks. Right. And so, I feel like, personally, I feel like I live a very creative life. Like, I'm constantly coming up with ideas and trying to bring them into reality. And
yeah, your art is entrepreneurial, is, you know,
and most of my artist friends are like spending their life working on a crappy job that they don't really like very much and trying to squeeze their art in on the weekends and at nights, which is also an okay thing. Like, whether they have a business around it or not. But like, I guess what I'm saying, dude, is that I want to, healthier might be the wrong word. I want to I want to be a better runner. Okay. Like I want to be faster. I want to be stronger. I want to be able to win races, or at least win races in my age division. Like, I guess I could say I want to live a more athletic life, specifically around running. And chances of that paying me anything are extremely slim, unless I build a how to be a better runner coaching and training business, or I started a running shoe company, or, something like that, which could be cool. At one point I tried to sell how to run barefoot stuff, and it didn't sell well. So, I dropped it, but that didn't mean I dropped running or running barefoot. And so 75 hard is an example of a structure that helps me to schedule in and do and follow through on the things that I want to do that aren't absolute necessities. And like, I know that you're working with 75 Heart, and maybe this is part of that whole process, but like, when you say that you would be putting the time into doing a show and having a show.
Yeah, I would I guess the benefit of 75 hard is that you're doing something every day. And I do like the idea of doing something 5 to 7 days a week towards my craft, towards my art. And that would be, probably, I guess it's a little drilled in my head about like write every day, because of the creativity books I read tend to be by writers. By prolific writers. So they're like, you have to write every day if you're a writer. And so you have to, and same with if you're a stand-up comedian, you should be, writing every day. But working on my show would be like, I need to sit down and put some time aside every day and work on my show. That could be every weekend instead of every day. It doesn't feel like quite enough of a habit to me. But that could be just an excuse to not get started as well. I know that. But so no, it doesn't have to make money. I'd love to make enough money. Like I have to make a lot of money right now. And but in a couple of years, that's not necessarily the case. I can make an okay amount of money. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't have. I don't actually totally have money connected to living a creative life. I would like that to be the payoff one day.
Yeah.
And maybe with, like you said, maybe with 75 Heart, helping other people do that as well, like by starting a challenge and doing that. Maybe that will somehow magically, whatever, maybe that'll have some sort of income. I'm not putting that pressure on that. I guess that's the thing, is I don't put pressure on performing either. But you need money to put up a show, even a small scale show, and so, and it's fine. I'm just starting to learn that it's okay to, like you said, have a job. I won't have a shitty job. I have a
job, business, or otherwise. I mean,
have an income that I'm okay with, because my morality and my ethics don't really allow me to have to spend a lot of time on a job just for money that I can't stand.
Right.
And it'd be great if that, more than pays the bills, and then I've got plenty of time to pursue being a better.
Well, so it's interesting though, because one of the things that you said was, and I think this is a good idea, but one of the things that you said was you'd be taking the time to work on your craft every day, or at least consistently, right? Mm-hmm. And so does it, so that I mean, it's a good pursuit, it makes sense. But what I find interesting about it is that that's actually largely about discipline, not creativity. Right? Like, yes, taking the time to work on your craft every day is important if you want to get better at it and you want to get more skilled, whether it's performing online, whether it's performing in person, whether it's performing like in front of a recorded video just so you have it recorded, or whether it's a live stream or whatever. But like that, doing it consistently or every day is part of like scheduling, routine, and discipline, which to me feels like the opposite of creativity. And so I mean, it can aid in the fostering of creativity, that structure, but does being creative is that actually a time thing? Or can you be more creative all the time in everything that you're already doing? Like, how could you bring more of your craft? And you already have some, but how could you bring more of your craft or more of creativity, whether it's magic or not, into our work together?
It's not the same. It's just applying a type of creativity to a business. It's not the same as it'd be like, imagine asking Ori that, like, he's not going to create a piece of art for us every day. It would, but his creative mind is valuable.
But if Ori wanted to build his business, he could totally live stream the creation of a piece of art every day and be bringing creativity into his business through routine and discipline, but by doing what he's already doing. And so what I'm saying is, like, being creative doesn't take time. Improving your craft, whatever your craft or skill is, that takes time and discipline. But being more creative in the moment, like now, you can do that right now without spending any extra time. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're either going to channel the creativity or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, all I'm saying is that, like, creative people don't have more time than non-creative people.
Right.
We all have the same amount of time. So, like, how can
I'm a creative person. That's not what I mean. I guess, I mean, I want to perform and make people laugh and inspire them to, live their lives. Live their passion.
I know you and I are already live streaming a lot, so this is probably not what you're looking for. But, like, what strikes me, right, like, is I'm imagining you doing a magic or comedy show online where you're, quote unquote, interviewing other performers, and you, like, do a little face off. Like, you tell a joke, they tell a joke. You do a trick, they do a trick, while you build up your audience and build your network of performers. Like, that, doing it on a regular basis would take time and discipline, but, like, it's also something you already have the capability of doing that we're already doing on a regular basis. Like, we could totally interview a magician as one of our interviews every week. And we could totally interview a hypnotist as one of we've interviewed a few hypnotists already. But we absolutely could interview magicians and performers, especially ones who have bigger audiences and some degree of entrepreneurial, like, have something smart to say on the entrepreneurial side for our audience. But there are ways of integrating that directly into what we're already doing. But on the fear side, like, we just started talking about fear of living. So, like, I'm not trying to say.
I mean, if I need a word, I want to be a full-time performer.
So, okay, where do you want to be performing as a full-time performer?
On stage, and I don't mind doing it on pre-recorded and edited videos.
Okay.
And I don't mind necessarily doing it where, like, there's some magicians that do like what we're doing, but I don't know if they use some. I think you could do it with Instagram. You could have a live stream on, and then you could bring people on and do a magic trick for them, and then bring another person on. I haven't looked into that, but I think there's, like, a thing called, there's, like, like, it's not Snapchat, but it's like some video chat thing where usually you're going to end up with some guy whacking off if you stay on it too. It's just like, it cycles through. It's called, like, it's like chat roulette or something.
Okay.
And and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not going to do a magic trick for that guy. So it's like, hey, you want to see a magic trick? When you just, there's people sitting around bored watching video. So and then you record that, and then you've got some content for that. That's something that I'm slightly interested in. And what's cool about that is you can do the same magic tricks over and over. You don't have to come up with multiple, and you're really just looking for, great reactions.
Yeah.
And also, that occasional guy whacking off is probably not bad content.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, dude, is that like, I agree with you on working on your craft on a daily basis, right? Like and so what I'm saying is, what's preventing you from doing that?
I don't have the time. And that's what everybody's excuse is, but
Well, how much time does it take to perform one magic trick?
It's not just about performing a magic trick, Tellman. It's about creating a show. I ultimately want to do something in that. I already, look, I already performed. I'm going to perform. I performed last night. I'm going to perform 3 more times this week. And that's it's. And quite frankly, I'm relatively happy with that. I'm happy with performing once or twice a week. It's pretty tough with my situation now because it's a fucking 5-hour turnaround, and I really I should not be taking the time to do this hobby, but I have to as well. I have to have that outlet. I don't have anything else planned for after I get back from Barcelona next week. But anyway, it's just a matter of I know where I can go and perform once a week, a 10-minute show that takes me 5 hours to do. I want to take it further than that. That's my point. And yes, just to be clear, part of it is I want to create social media content for my funnybaldguy.me Instagram, and that would be along the lines of what you're saying. I think of a card. Don't say it.
Okay.
Don't say it. Would it? Okay. You can open your eyes. Would it be crazy if this is your card?
It would be.
All right. What is it?
Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades. It's your card.
Oh, nice.
Ace of Spades would have been easier had I known. Known you went with the easy one.
So one thing that we've talked about this a little bit. One of the things that I found funny is that I know several performers who want to be making their income with their performance art. I'm in particular, I'm at the moment, I'm thinking about you, and I'm thinking about my buddy Addison Rice, who's a copywriter and a brilliant musician.
The thing is I can also make an income if I could get the time to do the marketing side of getting corporate hosting, like what Devon's doing, and corporate gigs. I don't mind doing those. They're not quite the same as my own creative artist show, but I'm I can get $1,000-$1,500 a show for that. And that's money. If I can do one, 2 or 3 or 5 a month, that's a really good subsidy.
What if it's either live streamed or videoed with a phone? It's also all the social media content you need for a week. Every time you do a performance, it's all the video that you need to run through Opus and create all the short form videos that you could possibly need. And so you're already doing the thing. So like
you would need to spend more time than Opus. Opus doesn't know how to cut it off in the right place. But
okay, great. So, but still, it's like
and
right
you would
there.
Also need to record better than the way I record, which is like from the back of the room. You've got to treat the camera like an audience member, not just somebody sitting in the back.
Look, I'm not saying it's perfect, dude. What I'm saying is, if what you want to be doing is working on performing every day, it's within your reach. But there are lots of really good seeming reasons why you can't do that, but they're not actually real. Like, you have the time. Like, first thing in the morning, 15 minutes. Take a previous video you recorded, turn it into a social media clip, post it. But is doing that actually living a more creative life? Is spending that time from 6 to 7 a.m. every day, either doing before everybody else wakes up, doing a magic trick or editing a previous video and pushing it on social media? Is that what you mean by living a more creative life?
No, I mean that supports it. That's the business side, the marketing side of getting yourself in front of people or whatever
Right.
to where, so you still have, um, but then maybe, you get a corporate gig and you get to go perform it. That's ultimately not even what I really want, which is I want to do public shows where people pay to come see me, which, that's kind of the ultimate goal. I don't mind subsidizing that with, you know, weekly or more paid shows. That would be, that's fine. And I can do that. But that would take a better marketing. I guess my website doesn't seem to convert for leads very well. I was paying Google, and nobody, like, I need to fix that. Whatever's going on. I and then I've had better luck with social media than I have with Google. So that's why I think, if that would be that would be creating content for social media so that my profile gets shown to people when they're looking for a corporate magician, or I don't know if Instagram gives Google juice or not. It seems to, so that when somebody searches for a comedy magician, if I've been doing stuff on Instagram and have a lot of views, then Google thinks that I must be a good authority.
Well, okay. Well, let's just get back to it though. Like, how much time a day do you need to have dedicated to your creative pursuits in order to feel like you're living a more creative life? If time's actually the limiter, if that's actually the limiter, how much time do you need to set aside a day to be like,
Time's
yes,
fine.
time's
Not the only limiter. It's difficult for me to live in a non-creative fucking work my ass off and then shift to go do something purely creative for 15 minutes and then go back to it or whatever. And I know you did say start your day with it. Well, I start my day off with a lot of things. So I'm going to wake up at fucking 4 a.m. now. Like, maybe, but no thanks. Like, I'm already waking up at like 5:30 in the morning so I can do my morning pages so that I can get to the gym at 6, I'm kind of getting to my limit of what I'm willing to wake up for. But anyway, sure, I could wake up a half hour before that. Well, whatever.
Well, the point is schedule it in. Like, whenever it's going to schedule it in as early as you can. Like if that's the thing that's going to make the difference for you, right? But like, if you're not willing to schedule it in, you're kind of screwed. But
yeah, I started to schedule it in, and then
what this does remind me of, I think I've mentioned Kim maybe early on in our show, is this reminds me a little bit of Marshall Silver.
Yeah, you've mentioned Marshall Silver.
And we should interview Marshall. He's a character. Marshall is interesting because he's a hypnotist and he's absolutely a performer. Like he loves getting on stage and he's absolutely a performer. He's more of a showman, right? He's not doing comedy so much, but he's definitely a showman.
But when he does stage hypnosis, he's not. There has to be a little bit of comedy in it.
I'm sure. I've only seen one of his shows, and it was a while ago. So there is some classic comedy elements, but most hypnotists, that's where they end. They do a comedy show, they make people laugh, and then they try to sell something before everybody departs, right? And for Marshall, everybody comes into his initial show, and he's doing it to generate leads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then
the next day he's got a workshop that's a few $100 on money mindset.
Yeah, 10 or 20% of the people that come to his free show essentially then go to the follow-up. And the follow-up is bridging the gap between the funny parts that they experienced last night where they came in with their family or whatever, and okay, how can we actually use this stuff to live a more successful and wealthy life? And that's where it turns into, essentially, he makes the shift from being a comedy hypnotist to being a motivational speaker, right?
It's interesting. So you've mentioned that for me, like as a way to maybe there's a business model, which I would be cool if I could come up with it. The idea would be to do that, but with my my idea for a show has some blends of personal development and law of attraction and magic,
Right.
how that's magical. So I could see having a workshop the next day on the law of attraction or something.
Yeah, well, if you had a show called Magic and Money, right?
Magic and money attraction or something.
Or Magic and Manifestation.
Yeah, right. Magic and
right?
manifestation.
Something, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, but
paradox
like,
is the name of one of the names. But anyway, my point is why not for you? Why are you just not interested enough in doing something similar to Marshall, or is it too close to what Marshall's doing that you wouldn't do it, or what?
I'm not interested in stage performance as a thing that I do regularly. Like, I don't really. I learned how to speak from stage. I've presented from stage. I've hypnotized people from stage. I can do it, but when I perform from stage when I'm done, I'm done. I don't get energy from the audience clapping. I don't get energy from the audience telling me I'm great. I just feel exhausted when I'm at the end of a performance. I guess like, I don't like performing.
Are you a secret introvert, or you just don't like performing?
A secret introvert. I mean, for most of my life, I considered myself an introvert because I really had a chip on my shoulder and like a belief that I genuinely just didn't like people and that most people completely sucked. I got beat up too many times when I was a kid or something, you know? Am I a secret introvert? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've
heard from introverts that perform or introverts that go to networking events that they are wiped out after. Are you wiped out after like a party?
Well, if I go to a conference or a seminar or a networking event and I have a very clear agenda on what I'm trying to accomplish or what I want, like when I go to a conference, either solo or when I bring team members to conferences and all this kind of stuff, I always have everybody write down the top 3 things that I'm trying to check off the list at the conference. Like, what are the objectives? What are the targets, right? Whether it's to meet 3 people that fit the following criteria, or, for like meet 3 new joint venture partners for our upcoming launch, or I want to
Abraham or Mark Joyner.
What?
Who'd you get that idea from? Like when you go to a conference to make sure, we talked about that before. You didn't get that from anybody? You just came up with
No, I think I just started doing that.
Oh, okay.
But like I'm much better socially now than I was when I was younger. But like I can go to a party now where I have no objectives and enjoy myself. But when I was younger, and when I say younger, I mean like 10 years ago, I couldn't go to a party and enjoy myself unless I was hosting the party or I had an objective. And 10 years ago, I was married and not looking. So, I wasn't looking to socialize and meet girls. And generally I don't like small talk all that much. I get bored with it very quickly, and I feel like it's very superficial, and a lot of the times people are just full of crap. So on the other hand, if I'm going to a marketing or conference or an event and and I know what I want to accomplish, like then I'm on point. I got
good news. I got good news and bad news for you.
What's that?
The good news is I lasted longer than yesterday. The bad news is I still got to go to the bathroom right now. So,
all right, go.
You're back.
All right. So Harris is going to the bathroom, in case you missed that, everybody. And what I'd like to know is, number 1 is, have you ever been hypnotized? And number 2 is, what's the best magic trick you've ever seen? So I would love to know, have you ever been hypnotized? In the comments below, let us know. And what's the best magic trick you've ever seen? There are lots of reasons that people don't go after what they really want. There are lots of reasons that fear can get in the way of that, whether it's living a more creative life or making a certain amount of money, going out there in the dating world and meeting that partner or spouse or romantic interest that you hope to meet one day, but you haven't yet. If you're terribly out of shape and overweight, the idea of exercising and eating well and getting in shape and getting going with that can seem daunting, and it can create a lot of fear of change, right? And so there are a lot of factors that can hold us back. But I've got to say, like, if you're afraid of doing something, my recommendation is schedule it in. Like, lean into it. I really love the war of art, or the war of art, and the obstacle is the way. You know, like I think that the things that create fear in us are the North Star. Like that is the thing. It is the most important thing. And you know,
I absolutely agree. You know, part of it, I know you weren't talking to me, but here I am.
well, I was at the distance.
Yeah. You know, another part of it is that when I do begin, it pulls me in. So if I'm scheduling an hour a day and I really do it, it will very quickly grow into needing and wanting more time on that because it's so blissful and I love it or whatever, and I want it to improve. And it's, you know, and then I have a lot of other things going on. And so that's part of what's scary is then that time begins to eat into the income producing time. Especially if I'm taking my eyes, if I'm like, okay, well, I don't care if this makes money, you know, I've got to care about making money on something. And, you know, just like,
It's true. But like, again, back, we all have hobbies, we all have interests, we all have passions, we all have things that we want to improve on. And your art and your creativity is one of those, and it's a particularly important one for you. Cool, right? But like, I don't know, dude. Like, I'm stoked that I'm running every day. Like, I want to be running every day for the rest of my life. I don't do it every day if I'm not doing a program like 75 Hard, or I have a regular running partner or whatever. I'll slack off and not follow through on that. And so what I'm suggesting is schedule it in anyway, as early as possible in the day. Like, if you do a daily magic show, even if it's a 5-minute magic show, one trick, and like, you have the most successful online magic show, like, yeah, you know, and you learn more about podcasting, you learn more about live streaming, you learn more about reels and stories and all the you know, all the various ways that we can repurpose this video content in order to build our audience and drive viewership and land more gigs, whether you're doing it on Instagram or whether you're doing it on LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok or whatever. Like, if what you want to do is have people hire you to do magic, man, schedule in some time to do magic every day, like where people are going to see it. It'd be awesome.
well, it doesn't even have to be the way you just said. It can be where I perform and then I repurpose.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, do it in a way that works for you, you know, but like, I would strongly encourage that. Like, I think it'd be awesome.
I'll get there.
But at the same time, I'll tell you, people's fears are the number. Like, all my marketing students who stay stuck and don't seem to make any progress with their business or increasing their income, when I meet with them on a weekly basis with Train with Tellman or any of my other programs, it's like, fear is the biggest factor that people use, or people cite as a reason for inaction. And
my fear is that if I spend too much time on magic, I will go broke, or I will not be able to pay my bills. Like, that's my real fear.
okay, well, do you feel that way about exercise? Because right now you're spending 90 minutes a day exercising, and that's not making anything. Is that going to cause you to go broke?
Maybe. No.
I don't think so.
Tell me there's 24 hours in a day though, so I should stop doing 75 hard and add an hour for magic.
That's not what I said. I would suggest that you add 15 minutes in for magic in addition to everything else that you're doing. Like, if you want, it's classic. If you want something done, ask the busiest person in the room. Just schedule more stuff in. Like put more meetings on the schedule. That's what I would recommend. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe find a different way if you want to. But like, that's the only way I make any changes in my life is like if I want to be doing something, I have to schedule it in, and then I almost always, if I really want to make it happen, I have to schedule it in with someone, whether it's a coach that I'm hiring, or whether it's an accountability partner, or whether it's a live streaming co-host, right? Like, but I am doing all my 75 hard stuff on my own. It is really nice having the
structure,
Facebook account, having the structure is for me super nice, but like having the Facebook accountability group and just like seeing those check-ins every now and again and so on is like, I guess, comforting. It's good, you know.
I think Ori dropped.
Oh, maybe he did. I don't know.
A few days ago, he did a public post that he overate at Thanksgiving, and he didn't.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and he didn't know if he wanted to just start the next day or if he was going to wait to restart. Which that's the see that for me, that's the danger of the program, which is if you fuck up a day, you might stop the whole thing. For me, I'm not. I'm I've been a little soft on a couple days where I could be harder on myself and say I must start a day over, but I'm not willing to do this more than 75 days. Like
yeah, see, I would say that giving up when you fuck one little thing up like that, like the biggest benefit of 75 hard is training you not to do that. So like, I think the benefit is starting over when you screw it up, and pushing through the difficulty and the resistance around that. Like, that's not the only benefit, but it's a huge, like, first time I did 75 hard, I had to restart 3 times, until it sunk in. Oh, I have to do everything first thing, like in the first 4 hours of the day, pretty much, except my second workout. Like, you have to pack that stuff in most of the time. For me anyway, have to pack it in early in the day as much as possible. Never slack off on that first workout. Like, always do it before the sun comes up, or like, for me anyway, or I just, raising kids and doing all this stuff. I have a real hard time packing everything in if I don't do that.
I mean, my day goes better if I do a 6 a.m. workout, 6:30 workout for sure. But today I wasn't able to because I was up until 1 because of the show. I had a show.
Right.
Like, I can't. I could have woken up at 5:30, but I decided. Well, also because McKenna wanted to work out with me today, so I didn't need 2 workouts before 9 a.m.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, that's only one way of handling it. That's just the way that I found it works for me.
I have to admit, I feel very productive if I get that first one in at 6:30 and everything else kind of rolls into place.
It is interesting because, like, I'm naturally waking up between 5 and 5:30 a.m., usually before my alarm. And after doing that for a month and a half, I pretty much have to be in bed by 10 or I'm done. I'm toast. And so, like, I get to bed earlier, I get up earlier. And what that usually means is that I'm up working out before anyone in my life has got, like my close life, my family, my girlfriend, whoever, my kids, like, they're all still snoozing. They're all still drooling on their pillow. Well, so actually,
by the way, I did want to mention, like, in my defense, I did just add waking up 30 minutes earlier to do something for my creativity, which is this course requires me to do 30 minutes right when you wake up, of not 30 minutes, 3 pages of journaling. So, like, it's okay that I'm not doing a magic trick every day or that yet. I just want to say that I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm telling you because you brought it up, but I'm realizing, you know what? It's okay resistance, because I am trying to push in the direction of my creativity, and using a proven method to rekindle it and rediscover it and overcome the fears of it, which
so you're using the art. So you've done what we're talking about. You're like, you just started the Artist Way in the last week or so, right?
Right.
And you are scheduling in extra time to do the process. So
Right.
I mean, so doesn't
Today,
that
December
mean you
3rd?
actually are living a more creative life already?
No, not yet. I mean, I think I'm on the discovery. I've realized that I am living a creative life anyway. Nobody, go survey 100 of your neighbors and see how many of them perform once or twice a week or do their art once or twice a week. I mean, I'm doing something, but I'm not progressing it, and that's okay. I'm not beating myself up over it. I just want to. It looks funny. I want it to go farther, and it will. But I also have, like you said, I have 90 minutes. Well, I have 2 hours a day of exercise, and one of those
I
goes
for
away
one
in January.
encourage more magic tricks on the Tellman and Fellman show, especially, or more magic, period. Especially if we don't have anyone that we're interviewing that day. I would really encourage you to like use a little bit of the time to practice your craft on camera, like with an audience. Like, I'm in full support.
Okay. I mean, I already found your card.
Did you?
Yeah, your card.
Yeah, you did at the beginning. No, well, you did right here. So again, more proof you're actually living a more creative life already, Harris Fellman.
Yeah. Here, I'll make a bird appear.
Nice. Wow. Really embracing it. All right, guys. We're at a little over an hour. Harris is flipping the bird. I think we should probably wrap it up. All right, guys. Thank you so much. What's up?
It doesn't work.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I don't get it. Sometimes it works.
Not on StreamYard.
Yeah, but I thought it was just because I'm on my Apple iPhone. Is Apple iPhone on Zoom only? Like, or FaceTime? I know it works on FaceTime.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for you. Sorry. Maybe we'll figure it out later. Maybe ChatGPT knows the answer. All right, guys. We're going to see you tomorrow morning. Harris,
I'm going to go watch an X-rated hypnosis show right now, everybody. I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. I want to go participate in a triple X hypnosis show.
Jeez. All right. Well, you can get on stage for that. You'll get known for that viral video. Harris's magical orgy. That'd be great.
Yeah. Hey. Okay, he does kids shows as well.
That's right. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. I'm Tellman Knutson, and I'm
Harris Fellman. Bye, everybody. See you maybe tomorrow. I'm traveling tomorrow. I might not be here, but I might be able to be. So we'll see. But we've got shows coming up all week. So
that's right.
Everybody.
Speaking of shows, if you want to get access to all the previous episodes of the Tellman and Fellman Show, visit tellmanandfellman.com. Give us all of your information, blood type.
Let's send it to the shorter one. Let's change that. I think that's going to slow. Just name and email is fine. Maybe phone number.
Okay, fine. Name and email is fine. Maybe phone number if you want text messages. And we'll send you updates. We'll give you all awesome stuff. It'll be great. Thank you, and we'll see you on the live stream tomorrow in some.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Bye.
Later. Bye, guys.